All right, how is everybody today? I'm Ross Evans, founder and CEO of ExtraCycle, and it is my great joy to be here to launch the Bosch Electric EdgeRunner 10E 2016. And for those of you who are tuned in live, thanks for joining us. For those of you who are watching it later, I want to just make sure everybody knows that you can look down below and you can place in your comments or questions in the comment section. We won't be answering questions on this call. We're going to keep it as short as possible just to cover the highlights. But as you can see behind me in the true reveal sense, I'm going to show this baby off to you in just a minute. So I thought of no better way to open this up than with a story. And something happened for me this week that was just truly magical. Maybe many of you have had this situation where you had to do a drive to get to a meeting, and I'm a part of a group of evergreen CEOs that meet once a week somewhere in the Bay Area. So Bay Area is known for its beauty, also for its traffic, and it's actually quite sprawling. So for me to get down to Palo Alto for this meeting, or Menlo Park, I was going to have to drive. The public transit's not so great. It just really doesn't work that well. But that morning I woke up, I thought, oh, I don't know. I just don't see myself wanting to sit in traffic today. So I hatched the plan to take the Bosch, this one right here behind us. I wrote it, but what I did is I realized that I could actually carry the thing up the stairs and get on the BART and take the BART from Oakland and all the way down to Union City. And from Union City, I got off and there's bike paths going all the way, thanks to Google Maps. I was taking the bike path all the way over to my meeting. I rode across the Dumbarton Bridge, which is a long bridge spanning the whole bay, and landed in the Silicon Valley. So for me, it was just, I don't know. I think that description doesn't even. It was magical, I have to say. I arrived at that meeting just so lit up, and when I rode home that evening, it was like one of the highest points of my life. It felt like I was watching the sunrise on my way there and the sunset on the way back. Just cars stuck in traffic while I was zooming by on this just wide open. I just felt truly free, and that was awesome for me. I wanted to make sure we touch upon some of the questions that are going to come up in this. So again, just keep making sure you put those questions down below. Brief history of ExtraCycle. For those of you who know me and know ExtraCycle, of course, this is old hat, but those of you who are watching this for this first time may not know that 20 years ago, as a sophomore at Stanford, I got a grant to go to Nicaragua, and the goal was to help make bikes for everyone, for the world, as a way to basically make bikes more useful. That was my focus. How could you make a bike more useful? And while we were there, working with a group of war-disabled Nicaraguan veterans, we uncovered this and started to play with this idea of a long-tail cargo bike, in particular with a 20-inch rear wheel and a low cargo rack. You carry just about all the things that the average person there needed to carry, whether it was their kids, a passenger, or get to school. Ultimately, I came back. I started ExtraCycle, and we launched a movement, a bunch of incredible people, and I've worked on this thing for 20 years now. And today marks a moment of just shift. I'll say that, a holy shift for me. This is about an intersection of some of the great moments, some of the great technology, some of the possibility that I envisioned way back when, which was really about a truly accessible, awesome vehicle that would replace car trips, be more fun, bring us together, help us move past consumerism and our individualism and all about me to a world that was more ample, more interconnected. And I believe that no bike does that better than the EdgeRunner. And certainly now, empowered with the superpowers of the Bosch mid-motor, I'm just truly excited to share this with you. So I think, are we ready? Are we ready to do this thing? Okay. I'll see if I can pull off the unveil here, you guys. Okay. Feast your eyes on this. Here we go. Woo! Here it is. All right. The Black Beauty. So this is her. This is the one. We'll have two versions of this, but this is the black version, and I'll walk over here too, so you can kind of get a look at all sides of her. This is. I want to just briefly overview a couple of the awesome features of EdgeRunner. Many of you out there already have EdgeRunners and have ridden them and love them. This brings some new things to the table, but it has all the same old attributes that are just truly fun, awesome, empowering, freedom, joy-inducing. I mean, it's one of my favorite things ever to ride this bike. And what I found is, of course, the EdgeRunner and ExtraCycle platform. So just to look back here, it's safe, your load is low. Of course, we're showing it without any bags. This bike comes standard with bags. It comes standard with the kickback, the proprietary innovative kickstand design. It's actually the LT2 kickstand. All the EdgeRunners coming out in 2016 and end of 2015 will have the LT2. Just awesome platform, low, able to carry anything. The addition this year is the incredible, awesome, I'm being abusive of this. I'm really, really excited about the Porter Rack. The Porter Rack is my attempt to make the front end carrying experience on a cargo bike premium, and I feel like we've done a really great job. It's incredibly strong, it's open-ended, and it's got a forthcoming accessory we call the Porter Pack that will just enable you to carry all the things that you would want to carry. But I personally carried a huge speaker on there, a rolled up piece of carpet, passengers, which I don't recommend, but you can just say, under testing, I had to do that for you just to say that it was possible, but don't do this at home. That's the kind of the overview of all the things. It's steel, it's real, it's gonna last. This is a bike that you buy if you care about longevity, you care about quality components. This is not I mean, it's easy for me to nerd out. I picked out every single part on this bike, from the, super wide tires that are going to be stable and strong and thorn resistant to, the sidewalls being reflective. I mean, literally, I went through and picked out the hundreds of parts that go on this bike, and you can trust me that we've chosen to take everything to a level of not premium, because I think premium sometimes it's like you're paying for the label. This is like the perfect level where you get optimal experience, performance, longevity, and really where the bike kind of disappears, and it's less about maintenance and, kind of like the click, click, click that's kind of going on there that pulls you away from that thoroughly. Like I said, when I rode across the Dumbarton Bridge on Tuesday this week, I was transported to a place that was just, as a busy adult, you don't go there often, and it was truly magical, and I feel like that underlies what we do here and why we do it, is to make a quality experience that's fun and easy, and this bike just embodies all those things. So I guess I've kind of covered it, but I want to say this bike, few people have had a chance to ride one yet, and so I have to just speak my experiences of all the bikes that we've created. This is just, it's so effortless and fun. I mean, of course, it has all the geometry that we've just dialed and honed and perfected around the EdgeRunner. It's got the low center of gravity, so your load actually stabilizes your ride. But I'll talk a little bit more about the electric side, and that's probably where this thing really shines, because when it comes down to it, you want a bike that, for me, the vision I had was a bike that I could ride every day. Whether it was loaded or not, I was always ready for anything. And for me in particularly, I love that, ready for any adventure. And these days I have more responsibilities, so I love being ready to pick up my kid if I wasn't knowing I needed to, but I could get him when I need to. Yesterday I carried a beanbag home. I mean, of all things, who would have thought you need a beanbag? But it turns out this is actually a really good beanbag carrier, or multiples. We had so much fun with that. And yeah, so it's a universally useful platform that is just, yeah, fun to use, basically. And when you think about utility, you rarely think of fun, but this is kind of, like we used to say, put the fun in functional. So the question, of course, is what does it carry? I mean, it carries just about anything you can think of, from passengers to cargo, groceries. Errand running is fun. Going to the park is fun. Like I said, zipping across the bay to a meeting was fun. And I just thrilled and not sweating and just, like lit up from the inside out. There's a lot of question out there, especially in the US, about why electric. And I just want to touch upon that briefly. I mean, there are reams, and I could talk for an hour just about electric. What I'll say in its core is that I will say that at one point, as much as I've valued inclusivity and I've wanted ExtraCycle to be just a broad and accessible community, it really struck me that we were not doing that well. We had created a bike. It was almost, I think I told somebody at one point, it was like we created a party, and we say, everybody's welcome, just that the first step is 10 feet up. And people would come and think, that looks like fun, and you guys are athletes, and I'm not an athlete, or I just don't know whether I can ride that. And this bike just brings the stability, the safety, the fun, all those things together, and it just puts it in front of anybody who wants to play this game. And I can't think of anything that nails it for me more, which is just to truly deliver on that premise that this is a platform that will change the world. Of course, that's core to my values of why I started this company, but one person at a time. And I think this, you know, if I'm honest with myself, we were not truly inclusive, and this bike brings it all together. So electric, I mean, in its fundamental thing is about inclusivity. But I would say too that, you know, there's something I call the electric smile. It's just the experience you have when you're riding a bike that just feels like you're coasting. You know, it's like it's not about the effort. It's about the present moment. And this bike, you know, some of the things about the Bosch that are truly magical are that it disappears. It kind of has this amazing function. There's no throttle, so I'm not thinking like a motorcycle, like, oh, you know, should I throttle here or not? It's like it's got 17 sensors sensing 1,000 times a second. I mean, I don't want to like totally nerd out on you here, but there's been a lot of engineering that went into this. And I think what's so awesome about what Bosch did is that they wanted to create a bicycle experience. So they're not making a motorcycle. This is not a moped. This is truly a bicycle. And when you pair the Bosch system with EdgeRunner and ExtraCycle technology and accessories, you get an experience that's just unparalleled in the world of bike riding. And I don't know how to bring it to people in any other way. You know, I've had lots of people come up to me at trade shows and wanna, you know, I don't need a motor. Like, I'm here to, you know, isn't that cheating or whatever? There's just a lot of misunderstanding around why electric. And I would just say, if you haven't tried it, your mind isn't open. And as they say, you know, the mind is like a parachute. It works best when it's open. So I would just encourage you to try this out or take my word for it. I mean, there's only a few of these, I'll tell you later, but those of you who know this is the bike for you, I've already got friends of mine saying, hey, can I, you know, skip in front of the line? And I just want to make sure we know that you're going to be thrilled to get this bike. And certainly nobody in the world, you know, can say that you're cheating when in reality you're not driving, because that's pretty much, you know, the ultimate trade-off is that, you know, what joy you get from riding a bike and what message you're sending out to the world as you pedal with your smile and your kids just having a ball behind you, or whatever your adventure is, your camping gear, your, you know, your groceries, your huge FedEx box, whatever that is. So lots to say here. I'm going to try my best to condense why Bosch. We were very, very fortunate to be chosen by Bosch. They're very selective about who they work with. And by and large in Europe, you know, I had people, you know, at the European trade show when I said we were working with Bosch, almost like, you know, companies like ours, you know, that they say, they almost treat me like a god, you know, like, how did you do that? I mean, Bosch is so selective. And in Europe, Bosch electric bikes are the norm. They are the gold standard. It is basically the hugest, most adopted system, and it's not cheap, you know. And I think that's part of the European model is that they value longevity, they value quality, they value, you know, I think many Europeans told me, you know, that they kind of think of Americans as a little bit bloated and sort of overconsumptive and wasteful. That there's the downside of that they're a lot less likely to take a risk. So for instance, long-tail cargo bikes aren't as popular in Europe yet because they're not as willing to take risks on cargo bikes. So they have their old style or their old kind of bike, and that's something we can bring to Europe. But they've also really shown us that a bike that performs well and lasts well is just, I mean, it's a humongous market. I mean, you know, more than anybody thought. In the US, it's new, so we get a chance to kind of be pioneers around that. And here's the things that I would tell you to look out for. If you're thinking about buying an electric bike, you want to make sure that it's a name, like a noteworthy brand. It's like a solidly, and I mean, I guess it's, in truth, there's only really one brand that we've chosen to work with. It's the first time we've ever considered putting a motor that OEM, meaning like we built it in. And this bike is not one you can retrofit. This is a system that has to be built with a custom, what we call the node, where the motor mounts in. It's just, it's about the quality, it's about the ride experience, but ultimately when you get a bike, electric bikes have a horrid track record, and we've spent about 7 years evaluating all the different systems. And I will tell you, if you're not a hacker, tinkerer, kind of somebody who's gonna burn down their house kind of with experimental batteries, you really wanna look at this bike, because Bosch has just perfected the system, and it's got, you know, world-class support for you, you know, parts availability guaranteed for 7 years. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that they just do that is not the norm, and they're going to be around when a lot of the other ones have fallen away. So that's a lot about Bosch. I could tell you even more, but just take my word for it. If you want to get an electric bike, you're going to really consider the investment in a Bosch powered EdgeRunner. Yeah, I think I covered it, but in short, how this thing works, you pedal, you turn the thing on. There's an Intuvia display up here. It's got a little controller off to the side that you can basically say how much assist you want. So from eco to turbo, it just depends what kind of ride I'm doing, that I'll select different ones if I want to go further. It actually has a really cool readout that tells you your range. Otherwise, you just shift. You just shift to where you feel comfortable riding, and it does the rest. It just helps you pedal, and it does it in just a brilliant manner. And I don't think I touched upon why the mid-motor is such a huge benefit to this. Effectively, when you take a mid-motor, it has a number of, so middle motor, mid-drive is another way you'll hear people talk about it. When you put the motor in the middle of the bike, it has some, on a long tail bike, it actually has a nice effect of spreading your load out, but it also functionally is more efficient and more powerful because it's using the drivetrain, meaning that, just like your bike, if you end up in the wrong gear in your bike and you're trying to pedal really hard and it's like, oh, I can't get it going, that any electric motor is going to have that same experience. But when you put it in the middle, it's actually getting to use those same gears that your legs are, and it can be much more efficient and much more easy, and it also is part of that fun I was talking about because it's built right into your pedaling. It's got shift detection and just a bunch of things that really smart stuff. So love the Bosch, obviously. I tell you, I've never ridden a bike that's as fun and it's just, I don't know, it's like transparent, I guess would be the way I put it, whereas almost every other bike that I would say every other electric bike I've ridden, I'm thinking about it at some level, and I just don't. It just disappears, and I have this thrilling experience. Wanted to blast through this, so I think I've covered everything on the electric system front. This bike is going to be, it's just gone live on our website right now. So I would encourage you to navigate over once you finish watching this to extracycle.com. The URL is actually extracycle.com/Bosch-Electric-EdgeRunner-10E. So, or you can just navigate to it under our bikes, look for the 10E. That's going to be where you're going to basically be able to put your pre-orders in. And like I said, there's a limited number of these. They'll be delivered to your local bike shop in August. So, but this thing's going live today, and I'm just super thrilled to be able to put it in front of you. Oh yeah, I also want to mention, just for those of you who are curious, basically if you kind of fully load this thing up, kind of depending on which stuff you get, it'll be about $6,000 is the investment you'll make in it. Clearly that's something that you're going to want to consider, and all the parts that the longevity, the rationale for why you're going to really make this investment. I encourage you to just let us know your questions if you can. Take a test ride, but by and large, just trust my experience if you can. I mean, just believe in my believing, in the sense that this is the game-changing bike that I've been waiting for, that I've been working toward for 20 years now. I'm sad, honestly, that we only have the few that we have. We're getting it as fast as we can, but like I said, Bosch is, kind of gives out the, I don't want to say gives them out, makes them available in smaller numbers, and it's a little bit difficult for the smaller companies to get as many. So we're releasing them as fast as we can with this, which is much, but we also are wanted to make sure we release it just in the utmost quality. So those of you who know this bike is for you, navigate over to extracycle.com, look for the 10E, and put in your pre-order or your intention to test drive today. And otherwise, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for believing. Thank you for considering riding a bike when the rest of the world might be thinking that you're crazy. And that's why we call this bike the EdgeRunner, because we're the people who are riding that edge. That is really about leadership and about community and about innovation. So thank you all for doing what you've done and being here today. Thank you all very much. And let us know if you have questions, and we'll answer them in the comment area below. All right, take care.